A very good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to Issues and Attitudes. My name is Jeff Owens, Director of WEIU. And on the phone with me today, I have two gentlemen from Mattoon. Mattoon Mayor, Mr. Tim Gover, and City Administrator Kyle Gill. Welcome, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jeff.
Appreciate you calling in, and it's a good thing you called in today because we have a heating problem over here, and it's warm. So much going on right now in the world, and then we want to kind of relate that to what's happening in Mattoon as well. So let's just talk first about COVID-19 and what recent changes were made and how you administer and things that are going on right now, so people are up to date with the latest in that.
So, City Hall, we did close down to the public. We are still closed down to the public, but we have, found ways to do everything that we normally do. Over phone, over emails, by appointments. Some things people have to pick up. So we've adjusted fairly well. We probably will implement some changes to the way we've done things in the past. But it is a new thinking for Mattoon. We also, constantly are looking at updates from the governor's office and any other offices, the CDC's, pages, and constantly try to keep up with the new recommendations and what they are suggesting that we do for our employees and for citizens.
And even though the City Hall is closed to the public, all of the staff have been working every day. So they are here.
Okay, I was wondering about that. Now, when you take us back to mid-March and when this thing hit and everybody had to change on the fly, how fast did you implement all these changes? Because it seemed like that was the toughest thing for people to do, to come up with an action plan immediately. Was there something in place, or did you guys kind of have to do it on your own?
We had a few little things in place, but majority of it was we were learning every day, and we'd make a decision, and maybe we'd have to turn around and change that decision the next day as we learned more. But we were just trying to respond quickly and safely for our employees and systems.
And it was one of those things where, we had to be here all of the time, really, to determine what was happening. Things were, as Kyle mentioned, changing really almost by the minute. He and I were almost like Siamese twins, I think, that first week, having to make decisions very quickly.
Yeah, it seems like everybody we talk to, that's been the biggest thing is, how do you decide? And you have to sometimes go back and change it, but nobody was prepared, and I mean that in the positive way. I mean, it's hit so fast, and we all we've learned so much over the last 3 months. I know restaurants are always the talk. People want to be able to go out. I know a lot of people have the outside seating, and how long will that be in place, and then when will that change, or is that all have to do with the phasing that the governor set down?
Well, we really don't know. We're just waiting almost day by day to see what changes are being made. But most of the restaurants, I think, in Mattoon have done a good job of being able to have the outside seating.
The ones that haven't, they are doing a lot of curbside still, so they just maybe didn't think they needed to do the outside seating, the ones that don't. But this phase is he's allowing outside seating. I'm hoping the next phase he will introduce some inside, some outside. That's my guess. But we'll have to see what the governor comes out with.
Has there been any issues with the outside seating right now? Is everybody abiding by the rules and no intervention by any means?
Pretty much so. Really no problems. Nothing that we have observed, let me put it that way.
That's good. Now, you said all the City Hall employees are working now. All city workers still doing their jobs, sewer, street, and all that, in terms of getting the day-to-day maintenance and all that?
And no furloughs, none working from home or anything like that. As far as the city employees are concerned, everything is normal.
That's good.
We've made some adjustments where they're separated in the offices a little bit farther. One guy to a pickup truck, stuff like that.
That makes sense. Now, obviously, right now, the other big issue is that the police in the United States are just under heavy scrutiny. How much discussions have you had with the Mattoon Police Department with what's going on nationally?
Regular discussions. In fact, Chief Taylor and I just a while ago discussed it a little bit about the activities throughout the United States.
Kyle, anything to add? Or
Yeah, no. Jason Chief Taylor's done a great job talking to his employees. We've had a couple of peaceful protests here in town that went over smoothly, and the police officers were there just to make sure, both sides or whoever wanted to speak got to speak their voice. But yeah, everything stayed peaceful. So.
Yeah, I saw a little bit of Fridays by happenstance. I was driving and I saw the police out there, kind of directing traffic as the folks were walking down the streets of Mattoon. And it looked like everything was peaceful here in Mattoon, and thank the Lord for that. It's been kind of crazy everywhere else across the country. What are your thoughts on that when you see what's happening? It started in Minneapolis and has really become a worldwide event.
Well, I think the peaceful protests are fine. That's part of the American way. But when they turn violent, the looting and that type of thing, why, they're criminals. They're not just protesting for whatever. And that's something we want to make sure does not happen here. And they've been peaceful. I was out last Saturday night with the police for about 8 hours just to see how things were going and see how the restaurants were responding. The previous week I was out Friday night, Saturday night, and then Saturday afternoon and evening a little bit. So, just observing, making sure everything is going according to how it should.
You love your ride-alongs, I know that, Mayor.
I do. You like to know what's going on.
There's nothing wrong with that, right? Mostly now. I don't know if you know this, but what is the next really important date on kind of the state of Illinois calendar? I've heard June 24th, June 26th. Is that what we're kind of looking forward to, or could something happen sooner?
During his phase, it was 28 days. So it would be June 26th.
Okay, 26th.
But he's always got the ability to make it quicker if he decides things are improving faster. As of right now, June 26th, but like I said, the governor does have the right to shorten the times if he sees numbers coming in better than what he expected.
Now, since March, obviously things have changed and really changed again with all this movement since Minneapolis. But when this more directed towards Kyle Gill, the city budget obviously gets affected when there's less money coming in. Talk about how you guys have reacted to that, and Kyle, what are your kind of worries as we move on through the year 2020?
Well, and part of it is we have a delay in our sales tax, so we really don't know how much it's going to hurt us. We don't have a good idea yet. The Illinois Municipal League put out some numbers of what they thought we would see, anywhere from 15 to 30% decreases in several different line items. But we did just get actually our March's sales tax, and it was down a little bit, but not as bad as we thought it was going to be. I think it was down approximately $6,000 versus March of last year. So that was kind of promising for us. That's a little bit better. April will be the true telltale sign, which we'll have that at the beginning of July. So originally, when they first came out, we thought we could see about $1.5 million in reduction in revenues. We haven't seen any proof of that yet, so I'm hoping it's not that much, because that would really get into our reserves. But we've done some things. We've cut back on several different areas. We were late to bringing back some of our summer help. Just doing what we can to not have the expenses that we normally would at this time of year. Try to push them back until we have a better idea of what our revenues are really going to be. Yeah,
because April and May will be the full months that this has really affected everything 100%, right?
Correct.
Yep. How tough, both of you right now, are your jobs compared to where they were 6 months ago, 5 months ago, with so much going on?
Well, and that's the thing. When the COVID first hit, we closed down City Hall. I think for like a day or two, it was fairly kind of quiet. But boy, it didn't. It really changed from there. It just, as things came in, getting new requirements to do, new things to look at. It's just been crazy. We've been putting in a lot of extra hours. I come in on the weekend some, and it's just it's a new time, and we're all adjusting and spending a lot of time doing the adjusting.
I usually put in probably at least 4 or 5 hours a day, and now I've been putting in some cases some 8, 9, even 12-hour days. So for a part-time job, that's a lot of hours. But I don't just I enjoy it.
Yeah.
And it's something that just has to be done because you have to be right here. You can't do things remotely. It just doesn't work that way.
Yeah, exactly right. And, like for a part-time mayor, you're to be commended for putting that many hours in. Who would have ever thought? Now, obviously, I try to stay positive, but, I mean, obviously there's got to be somebody out there. Some people have critiqued you. How do you deal with criticism during these really two events that have struck us over the last 90 days?
You got to have thick skin, but no, it's just explaining to people that, hey, we're adjusting as we're learning. It's a new learning experience. No one's been through this before. So, we're just doing what we can every day. Some things have to be prioritized over other things. So we still have some of the pothole questions and the tree trimming questions that things aren't getting done as fast as we like. But we're adjusting to what we need to get done this instant. So a lot of prioritizing.
Well, and I've had calls from people saying, well, why don't we just go ahead and open up everything? And I explained why we can't with the governor's executive order. And after I explain why we can't or shouldn't, they understand. But, they just don't understand why we can't. But one thing I'd mention about the budget also, we generally get, Jeff, about $30,000 a month in gaming revenues.
Yep.
And in March we got $22,000. In April we got $0. In May we got $0. And who knows, in June maybe $0 again. So you're looking maybe at $100,000 right there, which that hurts.
Oh yeah, everything hurts, and hopefully, like you said, by the end of this month we'll.
Let me mention one thing.
Yes.
Looking at nice things that happen, good things in this time. And Kyle can speak to this a little bit, but we just got our ISO rating, which dropped from a 4 to a 3. So, Kyle, I don't know if you can explain a little more
Yeah, what is
about
that, Kyle?
So, with our fire department, the last November, ISO came in, and we had to get a bunch of information gathered for them. And they came in November, I think November 4th, and took all the information we had gathered. They reviewed it, and we just got word yesterday that our ISO rating has dropped from a 4 to a 3. I've been with the city for 26, 27 years, and we were always at a 5 until probably, last 10 years we got down to a 4. And then here we just got down to a 3, which helps. It reduces premiums, insurance premiums for residents and commercial buildings especially.
And
our fire protection. So it was a good rating. Still shows us some areas that we need to work on, and we'll continue to do that. They usually come in about every 5 to 10 years with the ISO rating. We can ask them to come back quicker.
Well, now what's ISO stand for? I have to ask. I've never heard of that.
that stands for, if I can, I got to look at here. Just a second.
Oh, you're fine. Well, I'll ask Kyle a question while Mayor Gill or Mayor Gover's looking up. Kyle, do your people out there? I mean, at the beginning of this, there was always not enough resources in terms of masks and the PPE stuff. I mean, are the city employees all right? You guys had enough on hand to make everybody work safely?
We were pretty nervous at first about how much we had. We looked at our reserves, and we didn't know exactly how explosive this virus could be in our community. So we were worried really at first and trying to do everything we can. We come up with plans. Our fire department had come up with plans. What do we do if we don't have enough masks? We looked at some old air tanks and plastic masks that we had. How can we use some of those and clean them after each call if we needed to be? So the fire department and the police department both did a good job of getting the sources that they had, but also coming up with plans in case they didn't have enough. After the first few weeks, it seemed like we were able to start getting some of those, the masks and stuff in. Still not as many as we wanted at first, but it was at least sufficient because we didn't have a lot of cases right early on.
There you go.
And then the mayor, like that ISO is Insurance Services Office.
Okay.
It's just basically a fire summary report that rates your fire department, and the better the rating, the lower the number, the better insurance rates you get for your residential and commercial property.
Yeah, less money going out's a good thing right now, right?
Exactly.
Well, and that ISO is sort of a municipal slang term, I guess. That's why we don't know what the thing means. It's just one of those things
I get it, yeah.
talk about, and everybody here knows. But
That's like, yeah, we have the same thing in radio and TV. We say stuff, and people are like, what are you talking about? I get it, yeah.
another good thing to mention, the HSHS Medical Clinic out in the Cole Center is getting ready to open on a limited basis, in conjunction with everything that has to be done with this coronavirus. So that's some good news. And then things are progressing there at the Hilton Garden Inn, and also the Blue Cross Blue Shield building out there. So things are moving along. We have some good things going. Most of it centered on the virus and the closures and that type of thing. But there are things going on, as you well know.
You must have read my cheat sheet. I was just getting ready to ask you about the convention center in HSHS. It seems, and I drive by there every day twice, and that thing is just those buildings are just flying up, and really have made that corner look spectacular right now.
And there are probably more things that we understand are going to be going in there as well, but we haven't been informed exactly as what they are. So that whole area out there is going to expand. And of course, as you well know, driving twice a day, the road between Mattoon and Charleston, Highway 16, is being improved as well. And
I wasn't going to bring that up.
well, and before long, they're going to be starting on the Highway 121 between 19th Street in Mattoon and Sullivan, Illinois. So there are a number of road building projects going on here in Mattoon and the Coles County area.
Now, what about city services? What are some of the projects that you can tackle during this event that we can continue to see in terms of road repair and city stuff?
So yeah, we did bring back some of our summer help just this week to start working on the oil and chip program that we would do every year. We've had just started last week the bike trail between Mattoon and Charleston.
I saw that, yeah.
That contractor, I believe Dean Barber, our Public Works Director, said they did a mile the very first day, so that was good news that they're moving right along. So that project is underway. We have Marshall Avenue, the last phase of Marshall Avenue, which is from 14th Street to 17th Street. That is supposed to start either this week or next. So we'll be having that new paving put in there. And then we've also got the road out there at HSHS Blue Cross Blue Shield. They're getting ready to start that construction of that road. We've already put in water and sewer lines out there, so things are busy.
There you go. The other thing that happened this past weekend, the movie event, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, was well attended. No problems, it appeared, and the weather gave us a break and didn't come through.
Yes, it was nice. We have to give a big thanks to the Considines, Kurt Stretch, Commissioner Hall. They all went out there and they did a lot of work to get that pulled off. Rural King, of course, one of the supporters of the project, Casey Summers. It wouldn't have happened without all the volunteers that we get and all the people that help out. It was a very nice thing for the community, and the volunteerism, that's what makes Mattoon a great community, because we have people that will step up and go above and beyond to make other citizens happy.
I forgot to mention, Jeff, I'd like to give a real big thank you to the Mattoon Fire Department for all of the work they did, the personnel, the firefighters, in getting this ISO rating reduced, because it took a lot of work by those firefighters, and I really want to thank them for doing that.
That is neat. That was really cool that they do that. as you sit here, we're talking to Mattoon Mayor Tim Gover and City Administrator Kyle Gill. And we're talking about all things Mattoon and the community support. But do you have any concerns right now? Are you nervous about anything as we sit here in the early parts of June and as we look forward to the rest of summer and school starting? What are your concerns, Mayor?
Budget. As Kyle mentioned, we really we passed a budget by City Council here a while back, but essentially it was dead on arrival. We knew that because we passed it, but we knew we were going to have to amend that as time goes along. And as Kyle mentioned a moment ago, we don't know how much money we're going to have coming in. We just have to wait and see. So that's one of my main concerns. I'm hoping that the schools will open as they should. I'm hoping that Eastern Illinois University and Lakeland College will open as they should, but we'll just have to wait and see.
Yeah, I think that's the other concern that we have is just the small businesses that have been closed down. Hopefully they will survive through this. They'll reopen. Everybody will go back to going there to eat or shop, and we'll see a nice recovery is what we're hoping. Budgets is a big issue, but also keeping our employees safe and keeping our numbers up as best we can through all this is important too. So we're looking at anything we can do, looking at trying to figure out different ways, looking for any grant money. And we've applied for a lot of grants for the small businesses. Some have received them, some haven't, which we wish all of them would receive it. But of course, with the money the state has, they can't fund everything. So.
Yep. A lot of paperwork involved in that. Now, I'm going to ask, being a sports guy, sports on city fields, are we hoping there's still a chance that late June and July and August we can play sports on our fields?
So, yeah, I think we're trying to prepare for that. Right now, I think June 15th, Kurt is going to open up some fields for practices as long as it still meets the maximum number of 10 and the distancing. And then we're hoping that we'll see a good response there towards the end of June that maybe we can get some of these sporting activities going.
Okay.
Well, then I noticed also some of the churches are starting to open for services, but, having the distancing and that type of thing and the maximum number of people in their sanctuary.
Yeah, I know that happened yesterday for a few churches in Mattoon, and they're adding different sessions so people can go at different times so they're not too packed. So I think that will probably work itself out.
As Kyle mentioned, we have been working with many of the small businesses and trying to do everything we can to help them during this very difficult period.
There you go. I know you touched on it, Mayor, just a minute ago, but have you heard other businesses or potential new businesses coming to the area? Or is everybody kind of in that waiting phase since everything's kind of been nuts the last 90 days or so?
I think it's pretty much wait and hold right now. There are some other businesses that are looking at our area, or to the city, but have not made a commitment yet.
What will be the first thing that both of you do when the pandemic is past us and you can do something enjoyable?
Good question.
Yeah.
I do miss the going out and eating, though. I'm not one that likes to sit outside and eat very much.
No, I don't like to eat in the hot either, Kyle. I get that. Yeah.
But I'm ready to get back to having some of our meetings inside some of these restaurants. So.
There you go. Mayor?
I might mention, maybe I shouldn't, but a friend and I went out of town, and we were able to eat inside at a restaurant on Saturday.
It's not illegal, It's okay. We get it. You have to do that. And I say that because I just got back from Missouri not too long ago for a little getaway. So.
Good for you.
Now, do you have a masking policy for your employees when they are on duty, like the street department as well as the individuals in the city hall and things?
So they all have masks, but most of the part we are staying 6 foot apart, so we don't really wear them too often when we're out in the public. Again, depends on if we're within the 6 foot or not. Anytime I go into a store, I do wear them, but most of the time up here at City Hall, we haven't been. We've been doing a lot of meetings by WebEx or Zoom, everybody's kind of staying in their office, staying in their work area, and we've got the distancing. So
Yeah, Zoom's been pretty neat. Who knew what Zoom was 6 months ago? Now it's doing great.
Well, and the police officers, as they meet people face to face, they usually wear a face mask as well and practice the distancing.
There you go. I want to go back to the convention center, Mayor, one time. Have you heard, are they on time in terms of the time frame? I know we had Jeremy Yost on a few months ago, and they were looking for that November. I didn't know if all this stuff happened, delayed them or not, or are they still looking at that late November, early December?
I've not heard of any change.
That's good news then. Other things, anything I forgot? We got a couple minutes left. We're talking to Kyle Gill and Tim Gover from the city of Mattoon. I want to make sure you have anybody else you need to thank or other city business that we didn't get to.
Well, I mean, really, just all of our employees. They've all done very well with this COVID-19. They've all been helpful. They've all, expressed some concerns, and we've worked together on keeping our employees safe. And that's number one goal right now is keeping the employees safe, so that they're not taking anything home to their families. And then the next thing is just going by the governor's rules, keeping the community safe. Trying to make sure that we get the funding that we need, try to get any grants. So everybody's done a great job of helping out.
Well, I think the residents of Mattoon have also done a fantastic job of trying to, as best possible, to abide by the rules and regulations.
I do too. The one thing I wanted to ask real quick, we got about a minute and a half left, is are you concerned about the census being accurate because all this hit when it was due? That's just kind of my own concern, but what about you guys? What do you think?
That is a concern I think that we have. The good thing is, hopefully, we know that some of the people are starting to be called in, the ones that go door to door.
Yeah.
Just hopefully that they will be able to get the responses that they need. The ones that didn't send it in, hopefully they will answer the doors and they'll talk to these people working, and that we'll get an accurate count.
Well,
Okay.
and much of that numbers determine how much money we're going to get from various parts of the state as well.
Yeah, so it's
So the numbers are really important.
Now, Kyle, I'm going to give you the last word today. I usually give it to the mayor, but you had a high school senior this year. So what do you say to the high school seniors who didn't get to walk across the stage this year at Mattoon High?
They've had a tough, really, 4 years of school, but they've all done great. They're all strong. I'm pretty proud of all of them. My daughter's seen things that I didn't think she would see this early in her life, and I think all of them have. And they've all done great. They've kept communication together. We've got some good, strong students, and they're going to go far.
I appreciate it. Thank you so much, Mayor Tim Gover and City Administrator Kyle Gill, for coming on today for Issues and Attitudes. Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you.
This is HitMix 88.9 WEIU.